Good morning. It can only be good morning. It is good morning. Brian, how you doing?
Well, it's good morning in part of the world.
It's definitely good morning in a dark part of the world. So it's four
Yeah,
o'clock, stupid o'clock, 4:25 in Southern California. It's a little bit earlier in Texas where Brian is. It's dark. It feels like the Nordics. So guess what? That's where we are today. We are armed with giant caffeine intakes and we are ready to welcome you to a very, very different version of the XDI Experience live show today.
Today we're going to actually be able to come with you live. Well, we're not live from there, but we have friends and coworkers who are live from Gothenburg in Sweden at the MBSE Cyber Symposium experience. So together with Dassault Systems, we're one of the main sponsors and we'll be able to join in on a live talk very shortly about MBSE.
Exactly. We're trying something very different today. We're streaming into a live event and watching one of our very own Talk MBSE. We are there with our very own Håkan Theobald, who leads our business in the Nordics. Sean Chadwick, who amongst several hats that he wears, is also overseeing our involvement with arguably the world's largest CATIA Magic MBSE program, and our technical services lead for North America, Mark Karamanugan, who's doing the talking today. They're all there to welcome everyone to the many exciting things we're doing in the entire MBSE space across A&D, transport and mobility, and beyond. And maybe, I don't know if we can cut there right now, but they could well be there waiting to go live. So, Brian, can we see them yet?
We can. Let's bring them in, actually.
Let's bring them on in, because I know Mark's looking to get out the gate and get talking. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, Brian. Hi, Andrew. I'm doing great in Gothenburg.
Good, good. Are you about to go on, about go live?
Yes, we're about to kick off in about 2 minutes. Counting
Okay,
down seconds.
so you good? You're all set?
Yeah.
Saying hi to the important people in the room.
Yeah, he's ignoring us. So there we go. So how's Gothenburg looking today?
Oh, it's beautiful. I think it's only rained here once. First time in Sweden. It's like being at home. It's like home away from home.
Great place to be. Great people to be with us as well.
Like we have in South Carolina.
You bet. You bet. So tell us, what is the title of the show, of the talk that you're doing today?
The title of the lecture is MBSE, an emotional journey, and our XDI approach to coach.
Approach to coach. Got it. And what are you going to be covering? Just a quick snapshot for 15 seconds.
We're going to be covering just at a really high level how we are working with one of our largest customers here in the UK with helping them adopt and foster a new MBSE culture, that their organization is heavily invested in and looking to move forward with into the future.
Fantastic. Sounds good. So are you going on live? Because we'll keep chatting ready while you get set up and get yourself ready.
I'm going on in about 30 seconds here. So I'll have to.
We're going to leave you to it. Good luck. Break a leg, as we say. It's a good term. Good luck, right, and we're going to catch up after. All righty. So everyone, so Mark's going to get ready to go live. It's the annual European User Conference. Mark, Brian, you maybe want to tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the annual European User Conference for CATIA and NoMagic let people go do networking, interacting with MBSE, PLM, PLE, systems engineering, and enterprise architecture industry. Basically, all the things we try to talk about in this show. There's a conference about that happening right now over in Sweden. It's a two-day conference with, I believe, training on day one and then a full conference on the second day. And yeah, it just should be fun to join in and see what's actually happening over there with Mark's presentation.
You bet. So while we wait for Mark to kick off, Brian, are you going to cut him in when he's ready to roll? Okay, sounds good. So everybody, MBSE, what is it all about? Well, to engineer the modern, large, complex, and interdisciplinary systems, the collaborative world teams need to speak the same language and must work on the same system model, of course. So the model is the system model, and the communication mechanism supported by standard, flexible, and friendly modeling languages. The evolving MBSE approach is leading the way and is expected to become pretty much the de facto standard practice in the field of systems engineering in the next decade. It's already happening in aerospace and defense. It's cascading into transport and mobility. So it's the place to be. Get ready. If you're not, you need to get ready for MBSE. It's a wave that's coming your way. Looks like Mark's ready to go.
It looked like he was on there. I didn't know if he was starting it or not, so have him.
Some of them we know already from the knowledge.
Yeah, they're doing an intro. Yeah,
and with some of them we started working with different accounts, and yeah, we will start from the XD innovation, and we have a name MBSE and emotional journey, so it's very interesting to see.
Yeah,
MBSE brings emotions as well. Yeah, it's not only purely deployment, and I think these emotions are coming from the challenges, different kind of challenges which you have and which you are meeting in your daily work. So we have half an hour for each presentation, and yeah, so Davis is our timekeeper, and we will have questions at the end of the session. So Mark, welcome.
Because the emotions are when you fail.
Yeah,
you know, I've seen both ends of the spectrum, and when I was asked to speak about MBSE, you know, I've been through, I think, almost every phase of that V diagram cycle. You know, from ideation all the way through customer support. And I've seen emotions on the floor. I've seen emotions from investors. I've seen emotions, you know, internally with coworkers, and you know, that, you know, it's almost just as important controlling those emotions and working with our coworkers and colleagues as all of the technical content that I think a lot of us have been seeing in some of the other lectures. I won't be going deep into technical content. That's not this forum for me. Just not enough time to give the respect and the appreciation, you know, that No Magic, Cameo, all the tools and technology deserve. I also wanted to, you know, talk about my experience when I went into the industry. I started out as a systems engineer. Back then, they called us multidisciplined engineers, you know, because we worked with every engineering domain, every engineering discipline. So we got a really good, and let me back up a little bit, set the plot. I went to work with Raytheon, which is a national U.S. defense contractor. Yeah, so they do tactical systems, they do civil space systems, space-based satellites, telescopes. And that was most of my background, was working on space-based systems. So the complexity level was, you know, beyond anything that I had ever been exposed to going through university or just coming up through the ranks. So we'll touch on personal war stories, not really use cases where we're going to talk about conclusions and results, but just my personal experiences as a SE, but also going through different industries, you know, with different programs and different cultures and, you know, different motivations. And one of the biggest highlights of my career is the James Webb Space Telescope. So I wanted to touch on that and pay homage to it. That to me is, you know, the highlight of systems engineering, and nothing else really compares to it. So this to me, this was 4 years of my life. I didn't spend 30 years on it like some people have dedicated their lives to, and committed their life, you know, to a program of this scale. This is a precision high bay in Redondo Beach and Space Park in Los Angeles in Southern California. I personally spent a lot of time in this high bay, dressed up in a bunny suit, completely, you know, from head to toe. My fingerprints would be on the spacecraft, but we always had to wear gloves. But my fingerprints are on this
beast of a machine. It's really incredible. I put this in there at the beginning of my career, a couple of years into it. I was working with the Assembly Integration and Test Company, or organization, department. And this hit the internet right away, as soon as it happened. And this was, a $300 million mistake. Was it due to systems engineering? Maybe not. Probably, a mistake with processes, or just really comes down to human variables. Somebody forgot to put a couple of screws where they needed to belong on the ring, and just a very costly mistake. I'm sure as soon as the person whoever saw it fall down, caught the first flight out of the US and made their way to Costa Rica just to disappear, after a mistake like this. Just real quick, my highlights. A big part of my career has been working with U.S. defense and space contractors, all civil space programs. But they're institutions. They are companies that have been established and have gone through different waves and cycles of economies and geopolitical pressures, and they've gone through their aches and pains, and as a result, even though they didn't have technology like we have today, then they've instilled discipline and diligence in the culture, that they still run today, which is a big difference from the T&M customers that I work directly with, which is Faraday Future, Fisker 1.0. At the beginning of the electric vehicle revolution, 20 years ago, when Tesla was kicking off their battery propulsion systems with Lotus. Completely different culture, no systems engineering, just a mad dash to get their product to market. And the first one, Fisker, speaking of emotions, that was one of the first companies that I lived through that went bankrupt, and in the end, everybody who was there, passionate, everybody's there for the same reason. Everybody was like-minded. Everybody was chasing that lottery ticket in the US. That's what we call the new American dream, is, going to a new startup that eventually will go public and cash in on, stocks. And so, talk about an emotional roller coaster. Privately funded, quick, loose, new companies that just are not really established in a market yet, just drove a lot of emotions, a lot of highs and a lot of lows. But a lot of lessons learned, and it's continuing to this day. Let's see. And all of this took place in Southern California, here in Los Angeles, where, having traveled the world, Los Angeles and the entire West Coast, California specifically, in the U.S., just breeds innovation. It cultivates creativity. It attracts, some of the biggest dreamers, some of the biggest visionaries, so many like-minded people that are all willing to work together, in this local area. And it happens to be the U.S.'s epicenter for aerospace and defense too. So James Webb Space Telescope was delivered to the French Guiana from Northrop Grumman, which is based out of Space Park in Los Angeles, right here. Also, little research, and the state of California happens to also cultivate a lot of systems engineers. So coming out of universities there, there's probably the most degrees awarded to students in this state out of all the other 49 states in the country. I went to University of Nevada, Reno, which was just on the other side of the border, but my mechanical engineering college, our degree, our education, was well-rounded. It wasn't very specific, but it was very well-rounded and gave a lot of reason to aerospace and defense companies to recruit from, to bring, individuals who have a big picture, sort of perspective on projects. So currently, I'm not in industry right now. Came out of industry a couple of years ago. I'm currently working with XD Innovation, which is a reseller of Dassault Systems products in the US. We also support high-profile customers. We're really active with small startup companies as well, helping them build infrastructure from the ground floor, taking all of these lessons learned from the years, some painful years, some great years, but trying to, help our customers not make the same mistakes that, we've made in the past. Just geographically, here's our layout. We have a strong presence in the UK, which is driven by Sean right here, and also in the Nordics, our hometown person, Håkan, here in Sweden. These are our core competencies, our 4 pillars. The third one, training and education. We do a lot of different type of training and education depending on what the customer's needs are. I wanted to dive into in the next couple of slides the needs that our UK-based company has right now, which is a giant MBSE transformation initiative that they're deploying, in which XDI has a pivotal role in to help, foster and build their culture internally. This is an array. I just highlighted, which parts of the arrays that, we're going to focus on. And so the world-class MBSE adoption transformation that's happening is a UK-based automotive group. They're an institution too, so they're not a startup. They don't have a blank, clean slate to build from. They're having to, battle with challenges of legacy mindsets and legacy tools, and just along the way trying to figure out how to keep up with the times and the transformations that are happening within economies and markets. I mean, just in the last 100 years, we've gone to literal horsepower to autonomous robotics machines, taking us from point A to point B. And so over the last couple of years, we've noticed how bullish the market is. It's, adapt or die. You don't want to be left in the dust and just become irrelevant by not adopting new tools and creating new methodologies and just new creative ways of conducting business. And so what we've seen is that the scales have tipped. There are so many more benefits, and these EV companies that we've been at, bankruptcies and, just billions and billions of dollars spent with nothing to show for it has, built a case for how important systems engineering is. Because a lot of those companies don't really run with systems engineering. They run with types and just, they're scrappy, they're loose. And, their main goal is to, get to market as quick as possible. So there's a lot of benefits. I think most people. Can I get a? Are most of you guys practitioners or engineers? If you're an engineer, raise your hand. Okay. If you're in management or C-level program management, raise your hand. Okay. Just curious what the audience is made up of. So modeling systems helps produce, improved system and software, definitely communications, and design quality. What I've seen, systems engineering helps with, you know, this one really sticks out to me is decreasing the level of ambiguity. You know, what we've noticed, what we call in the EV world is, you know, unless you have a plan of record or a source of truth, everything else is just called the Tower of Babel. You know, who's speaking the loudest, who's speaking the strongest, and that's the direction the organization is supposed to move in. You know, it just creates a ton of inefficiencies and a lot of, you know, circular, just running around in a hamster wheel, essentially. So unless requirements are clearly defined up front and recorded and connected to each one of the stakeholders, we just get so much ambiguity when it comes to design. And just simply, I love this picture right here. You know, we have so many people who are so intelligent and, you know, contain so much content and knowledge and data, but so much of it doesn't really matter until it's all put into context and connected, and so that's what MBSE is intended to do, is to connect all the dots. With our customer right now, it started a couple of years ago. They have been assessing, you know, how much value there is in investing in this transformation, moving from document-centric to model-based systems engineering. And this is assuming that systems engineering is already in place. They have an organization, but now we're becoming model-based. So these lines were checked off. Over the last 2 years, their value assessment, it's worth it to them. They're making the investment. They've analyzed all the business drivers, all the objectives, they've received all their customer input, and now they're launching initiatives. One of those initiatives is creating a whole new culture and mindset to keep them going and relevant in the future. They have to understand that this is not going to happen overnight. No matter what, there's no going backwards. They're always going to be moving forward. It may not be a linear curve. It's probably going to be more like this, the lower right-hand corner, just a lot of confusion and, you know, zigzagging. And a big part of it is deploying training and education on the ground floor, not just giving content for people to, you know, get access to and look at, but they need, you know, subject matter experts on the ground floor, face to face, to help with adapting their processes, their background with the new tools and technologies. Which really, the definition of that is creating new methodologies, and that's what they're in the painful process of, right? Is okay, we have these new tools. We've watched some videos on how to connect boxes and verbiage, but how do we really do that when we get back to our desks? And how are we doing that with each other? That's our differentiator. We have people who are passionate with systems engineering and with the know-how, and just holding hands, you know, kind of babysitting, if you will. The enterprise, their goal is to train up to 3,000 people over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. That's a big number. They're starting with a core group, the embedded software hardware engineers. This group, this domain, they have the visibility of topology, logical architecture. They're essentially the brains of these products and the systems, and from there they'll be expanding out to, you know, all of these domains, and then eventually converging into one giant model. The next group that they're going to be touching is the electrical mechanical system. domain. These vehicles, you know, they're electrified, right? They're not your typical automotive IC vehicles. They're iPads on wheels. You know, some of them are averaging 250 to 300 low voltage electronics devices. There's sensor fusion, optical sensors. There's, you know, onboard electronics, and so they're starting from the inside out with, you know, sponsorship and drivers, you know, from the top down. The other important part is not just, you know, delivering those, you know, self-training courses, but we have SMEs that are on the ground, just conducting training sessions, answering questions on a daily basis, having an open door policy, and also working with tailoring, you know, this training content that are specific to their processes, existing processes. And the size, I mean, to get 3,000 people in over the course of the next 2 years, it's been realized that, you know, groups of 20, you know, within 4-day waves has been the most efficient. Anything more becomes unmanageable. It becomes, you know, a little too big, too complex. These are our 4-day curriculums right here. The XDI with partners go through step by step with each of the users in the group. So typically, the whole theme is, how do we tie all this into the magic grid? Eventually, in the end, you know, how do we tie it back to physical products in the bill of materials, manufacturing bill of materials, and also service bill of materials? So this kind of captures the overall, you know, process that we see is, you know, the key to success is business change. We need to build confidence. We need to empower each of the users, and just continually go in that cycle until the entire culture shifts. And, you know, 10 years from now, we look back and we say to ourselves, how come it's taken us this long to get this far? And so that was, you know, just scratching the surface on how we're coaching and working internally with a large institution. The next couple of slides are just, you know, a testament to systems engineering. You know, this is, you know, the opposite of those bankruptcies and low points. This is, you know, just almost a year ago, December 25th, this modern marvel, one of the most complex systems, I think, you know, that man has built, was successfully launched and deployed and in operation. And it's because of, you know, the culture that's been instilled in this company. This is that same high day. Ground support equipment. I mean, it's just really impressive. Just the number of mechanisms that had to autonomously deploy and work in orbit 1 million miles away. So there's no repairing it. It's not coming back. Like, it has to be done right the first time. So one of the things, I mean, this is huge. I mean, it always comes down to people, to humans. I mean, you know, somebody's got to click the buttons. Somebody's got to, you know, connect the content. And, you know, coming into industry as a, you know, a young guy, we had a mediator from the LA court system, you know, who delivered a course on negotiations, the art of getting what you want. And that pretty much summed up what a systems engineer did too, is you know, working and communicating with so many different, you know, engineers, technical people, management, just all sorts of different levels. But what it really, you know, a lot of systems engineers, they have the ability to zoom out and always keep the big picture in mind, not get so stuck in the weeds and going in circles. They're always, looking for that single source of truth. Where is it documented? Where's that plan of record? Otherwise, it's just hearsay, and that's difficult to build anything off of. And systems engineers typically are the voice of reason in conference rooms and what we call war rooms. And they help bring structure and gravity to just states of array and confusion. This is just a summary of the result of what diligent systems engineering can produce. This is a picture that came from my portfolio. This was my project. Was building the spacecraft right here, from the adapter ring that mounts to the Ariane 5 launch vehicle. This is the primary backbone of that observatory. The optics, the sun shield, all of that mounted to the top of that guy. Northrop was, their bread and butter is developing spacecraft. And they've done it over and over, and they do it really well. And we used V5 for this. It was file-based. We didn't have a PLM system. So even that worked. And this just happened December 25th. Successful launch using the largest launch, the largest launch vehicle that was available at the time. I think this has been outsized recently by SLS and SpaceX's Starship. And so, yeah, in summary, systems engineer works, so, drive that message home, let your investors, let your shareholders, let your management, without systems engineering, we're not going to have a successful product, at least a complex, successful product. All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Thanks. So we have a couple of minutes for questions. 3 minutes. Any emotional question?
Nobody cry. Yeah.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Which was more challenging, building James Webb Telescope or training 2,000 people with systems engineering?
Yeah. Well, probably the 3,000 people. Yeah. Challenging James Webb. It's it's a slow process. It's like watching grass grow, but that's what it takes. Every box needs to be checked off. Every screw, everything has to be just perfect. But yeah, I think 3,000 people in a legacy institution is, that's a tall order to fill.
Now we have more tools.
There are definitely more tools to work with.
Okay, good. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Questions? Thanks. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Good. So the next.
There he is. Does that make Mark our very own rocket scientist, do you think?
I mean, at least telescope or space scientist for sure.
If you give a man a fish, you'd feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And I think that's basically the principles of what he was trying to get across there is, yeah, we can all jump in and do it all for you, but the best way to do it is to actually really walk you through it, teach you, mentor you so that you can take it to feed you for a lifetime. So that was really the idea behind it, I think. I don't know if you pulled anything else out of that, Brian.
Well, I think there's definitely some points that, like you just mentioned there, that are really hit upon by especially some of our other shows we've had before, where everyone hears what we're talking about with, MBSE with systems engineering, with this being a way to do things, and going in and thinking, hey, this is going to be great and flip of a button, everything's going to be amazing. Flip of a switch, push of a button, flip of a switch. It's early still. And find out that, hey, this takes a little more work than it sounds like, but then if you do it right and have the right guidance, that it can be really, really, really helpful and change a lot of what's happening for you.
Exactly. But you're going to need some help. You're going to need some. What was that?
Looks like Mark might be in a room ready to say a few words to us here.
Sounds good. Let's take him.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Andrew. Hey, Brian. Hi.
Hey, how you doing? Well done, John. Well done.
Doing good. Yeah. Thanks for.
I just said.
So
I think. Yeah. I just said. I thought that that must make you our very own rocket scientist. So there we go.
I did correct him and said telescope scientist.
Yeah. That's too much credit.
Yeah. No, that's good. So we're just saying that kind of the bottom line is, I think the saying is give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I think that's basically what you were trying to get across. But all good for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Good job. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for bringing us in on the sidelines so we could join in a little bit with you, pretend like we're actually there.
I'll keep you guys open.
So bottom line, everybody, we train you, we mentor you. It's not just give a training course and leave you to it. And by the way, you need a lot more than that. We actually will mentor you through the whole model building, SysML, UML exercise. We take you from zero to hero over the days, the weeks, and the months of your MBSE journey. So thank you, everybody. Next week, we are talking manufacturing, and we're heading to Boston at the big Delmia conference. And potentially we're going to be talking to one of our Aprizo solution architects about manufacturing execution, manufacturing operations management. Thanks, everybody. Mark, thank you again. Brian.
Yeah, Mark, thanks again for joining us. Hopefully you have a good rest of your conference, and we'll see everybody who's watching next week. So everybody, thanks for hopping in for a little bit, and we'll get back to our early mornings.
Yeah, let's do that. Go and get some sleep.
Bye, everybody.
All righty. Thanks, everyone.